Manchester United then, good win against Everton in the early kickoff on Saturday. Is this the real Manchester United, which is the most authentic version of this side that we've seen in recent weeks?
Well, it's finding that consistency level, isn't it? For the opening, I don't know, 20 minutes, Everton were the better team. They got their goal, and United looked flat. Looked like they had no confidence, and then all of a sudden, probably the one that stood out for me the most, I know people will be quick to highlight Bruno, was actually Fred. The way he kind of played, he was getting the ball, and he was the one trying to play forward. It was almost, after the loss in the Champions League to Istanbul and Arsenal in the Premier League, they just looked, they looked nervous, they looked flat, and sometimes a team always, as we've watched many times with Ireland, whenever you concede, it's kind of the shackles come off and you start to play, you start to get on the ball, you start to demand the ball. And Fred was the one, and if you looked at, for the first goal, like he fires the ball through the lines, which not a lot of the players were, firing the ball forward, and they just changed. I was surprised. I thought Everton, I know they've not been, they've lost the last few games. They had started the game well, but then once Manchester United kind of got a foothold in the game, they just went on, and Everton seemed to, probably a bit harsh, but they kind of fell apart. They couldn't get a grip of the game, and Manchester United just dominated. Of course, when they're 2-1 up, Everton are going to throw everything at it to try and get an equaliser late on, and then they get caught in the counter-attack. But it's whenever Ole Gunnar Solskjaer seems under pressure, he manages to pull out a result. But the big question mark is and every Manchester United fan would be asking themselves, can we find that consistency? Can they put in that level of performance week in, week out? Even if you look at after the Arsenal defeat, when everybody was throwing their arms up in the air, they'd beaten Red Bull a week previous to that, and then it was kind of like, oh my God, what are we doing here? It'd gone from an incredible week for Ole to, Pochettino's on Monday Night Football. Is he going to take over? Then there was talks all over social media that, Manchester United inquired about him, and then they go and they get a result. It's just, can they follow this up after the international break? That's the big thing. He needs to probably put a string of results together, which is going to be a difficult thing. Look, they have very good players. He seems to have found a team that works with McTominay and Fred, and then obviously Bruno in front of them. It seems to be the way. And we'd highlighted Pogba. I think they'll look to move Pogba on in January. I think it's time for him to go, because obviously, look, he's not starting, he's not playing, and when you have a player that caliber who's won numerous Serie A titles, a World Cup, he's an exceptional player, and I don't think there'll be clubs short of wanting him. The Juventus president came out, I believe, and said that he was his number one transfer target, and they wanted to bring him back. So I think it's only a matter of time, and I think it'll probably benefit Manchester United in the long run, because then, the less egos you have around the place, the better. And I imagine Pogba, he's a big character, he's a big player, but I imagine with that comes a big ego. So I'll be interested to see what happens.